Welcome back, you guys. So you just read the article about teens and drugs. Quite a heavy topic. It's something that's been plaguing not only countries such as the US, but now even in South Korea, where teens are getting into drugs. Even there's been an alarming case, such as in Kentucky in the US, where a 15-year-old ingested some candy that had the THC, which had the component of marijuana. So these days, a lot of teens are being hospitalized because they've been ingesting these kinds of candies that have something other, like some drug in it. And it's been quite dangerous. It's been increasing. So in 2018, they've laxed the rules, and there are many hemp-derived products that are available. And due to that, many teens have been able to get their hands on these, you would say, like, they look like candies, but they're actually not. So the cases of them going to the hospital have been increasing. That's paved the way for more, teens learning about these kinds of drugs or how they can get their hands on these drugs, especially through TikTok and other social media. Right. And in Korea, similar things has been happening, but maybe not with marijuana, but with things such as like diet pills and some other pills of that sort. Kids can become addicted, and when it starts affecting their health, instead of going to get help, they do not. And the reason for that being that the Yoon administration has put some stringent laws against that. Very heavy laws against drug use in Korea that makes children, teens, even adults, they have some reluctance to go to some authorities or to the hospital to seek help because they're afraid of, the stigma that it holds or, what the law is going to say about it. So some experts and some specialists have suggested to renaming or reframing the way that we look at people who are addicted to substances as sort of like some mental health issue or something that we can treat. And if we did that, then, people would be more likely to seek help instead of trying to deal with it by themselves. However, South Korean's government has a hard line and we don't see it changing anytime soon. So it's, as social media spreads all of this drug use, it's becoming more complex and difficult to deal with, not just in South Korea or in the US, but worldwide. So we hope that we can figure out how to help teens so they can, grow into healthy adults.
Yeah, right.
So my first question for you would be, what do you think needs to be done to protect children and teenagers from drugs?
So if I think about when we were growing up, maybe when we were in middle school, we hadn't kind of been introduced to social media yet. And maybe even in high school, it still wasn't as common. And so I think that, at least from my personal experience, I never really had the temptation to drink or especially do drugs. They were never in my orbit growing up. But that said, we had education at school, like drug prevention education, just kind of explaining the reality of what a drug addiction could look like. And I think, especially due to my personality, I was like, wow, never touching that. So for me, I think it really helped. And I know that in the US, you have the DARE program, right?
DARE, yeah.
I don't know what that stands for, actually. DARE.
Neither do I. Just know it's don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs. So it was a huge campaign in the US where I think a lot of children in schools were shown videos, which have become quite infamous, I think, like encouraging people not to take drugs, not to drink too much, like explaining the dangers. And I think that maybe because these dangers haven't really been present in Korea, there's not a lot of drug education. And so I think maybe it's the time to change that, to start giving them some education. Do you have any other ideas?
I also think that they need a lot of, this awareness about like how detrimental it can be to your health. But along with that, offer some support for if in case they're already going down that path, how can they get out of that? Instead of just villainizing all drug use or all addictions.
Right.
They may not all be the same, and give some opportunities for them to get help would be important.
Right.
How do you think technology and social media influence teenage drug use?
So as I mentioned, when we were growing up, I don't think we really had a lot of access to the media. But unfortunately, these days, TikTok and Instagram are prevalent on pretty much every teenager's phone, I think. And so I think that maybe there's two categories of people. I think that one of them maybe has seen some of the videos of the people in America that you mentioned earlier, kind of in their drugged out state. And I personally, as an adult, find that terrifying.
Right.
So I can't imagine a younger child or maybe a teenager seeing that and thinking, hey, that's a good idea. So I think there's definitely a category that will have been swayed off drug use for life because they don't want to see themselves like that. But then, unfortunately, I think there's another category of children are very easily influenced when they are teenagers. And so maybe like their music style choices, there's definitely a lot of drug use in both kind of like hip hop culture and rock music culture.
Yeah, they glamorize the drug use.
Like band life, that kind of thing. And so I think a lot of teenagers might see their favorite musicians or other people that they like different creators online, maybe smoking recreationally or other things like that, and think, hey, I want to try that too. So I definitely think there's two camps of people, or two different influences, I think.
They really need to get like BTS to do a campaign of like, don't do drugs. Taylor Swift in America.
Yeah,
don't
right.
do drugs, maybe. We hope you enjoyed this article. Make sure that you look over the vocabulary and feel free to use it on your day-to-day. And we'll see you in the next article.
Ingestion.
Ingestion.
Alarming.
Alarming.
Pave the way for.
Pave the way for.
Reluctance.
Reluctance.
Stringent.
Stringent.